You know, when you do a gig and people get photos with you, that's fair enough. Yeah. It doesn't have that much. But anyway, but I don't like it when people push people in that don't want a photo or they don't know who you are.
Yeah.
So especially with the little kids.
Yeah.
So I did it was a baseball club on Saturday, and this mum's women's lunch, all women, which just can be a bit crazy. Bit out of control, but they were great. Anyway, one of the mums goes, "Oh, get a photo with my young son, Archie, about 8, right?" She pushes him towards me and goes, "I don't know who you are." And so I go, "Mate, I played 400 games for Collingwood." And he's like, So he sort of stands next to me, right, and gets the photo taken and walks away. Anyway, I grab my books, I was selling books, and I walk out of the area, walk away, and they're playing baseball and stuff, and little Archie's sort of standing there, and then just sort of he looks at me and I sort of nod and he goes, "Collingwood sucks."
So all round, pretty good day.
Pretty good day.
Yeah.
But also, I sort of got a bit offended, and I thought, why am I offended? I didn't actually play for Collingwood.
Yeah, but he's just
Collingwood sucks.
Even if you did, you were. I think I probably told.
And he said it so it's out of earshot of his mum or anything. One of those ones,
It's really tough, when people don't. And I get it where I get women who want to have a photograph with me and the husbands don't recognise me. Oh, they do, but they want to tell me that they don't. Who is he? I don't know who he is. What's he do again? And then it's like, how do you use this phone? I don't know. I don't have a phone. I don't have it. You go, mate, just get on with it. Oh, you're in the Kath and Kim show. Yeah, well, so you do know, do you?
Yeah.
It's a first world problem, but it's a big deal. But I think I've talked about on this podcast before where I was at a restaurant and the person behind me, the man behind me said, could you do a photograph? I said, sure. So I stood up and put my arm around the woman, and he takes the photograph, giving me a weird look, and then I sit back down and I finished my meal, and then I walked out of the restaurant and I realised he was saying, can I take the photograph?
Yeah, can you take the photograph?
So it must have been so weird, because can you do a photo? The bloke just stands up, puts his arm around his wife, and that's just bizarre.
It's not that bizarre that he didn't say anything.
Yeah, well, he just took it reluctantly and gave me a weird look.
It is funny though, I remember I was with Rove once and the guy said, "Oh, Dave, can I get your photo?" And just hands the thing to Rove. Rove's like, "Oh, okay, I'm the photographer now."
Yeah, and it just goes around and around.
Where do those photos end up? The Instagram these days, if you've got Instagram, which we found out with the Byron Bay incident where that guy took a selfie with you on stage and then it ended up on Instagram.
It was Chris Hemsworth's
personal trainer.
But you did pick him out, which you picked him out earlier.
I picked him out because he also wanted attention. He stood up and stuff during the gig when I said stand up for your single. He stood up and went, "Hey, like sit down, clown." Oh, is that the music?
Hello and welcome to Somehow Related, and now please welcome your hosts Glenn Robbins and Dave O'Neill.
Ooh, well, welcome to the podcast.
Interesting, I've heard some things about this podcast that are happening on the horizon.
Yeah.
You've just come straight in here. I've spoken to the producer who's not here at the moment. Some things are happening out there in the zeitgeist.
Really?
That are questionable, but I'll just leave that with you. We can talk about
questionable.
That. Yeah. No, well, I don't know what I say. Derivative, is that too harsh?
Oh, really? Is this similar podcasts?
Not podcasts. Events. Things.
Events?
Yeah. Anyway, I'm just planting that seed of intrigue.
God.
It will come to the surface as we venture forward.
Well, there's a Somehow Related festival and we're not invited.
Well, pretty much.
Really?
Yeah.
Don't say that someone's going to do like a tribute show to us.
No.
You know have tribute bands.
Yeah, nothing to do with us. As in, they are doing it randomly. I don't want to tell you just in case I get in trouble.
Oh, okay.
From Courtney, because he's the producer of the show.
Sure.
He told me something that. Anyway, look, we'll just see what happens. Should we? Let's just move on.
Yeah, move on.
I've said too much. So Glenn Robbins, David O'Neill, two random topics that are somehow related. We don't make it up. We don't make this stuff up. We have help. We have Sam, who diligently comes up with it. I don't know how she does it, but she just must push a special button, and she comes up with an intriguing relationship between two random things. So should we get the topics?
Yeah, why not? Let's have them.
Jiminy Cricket and Jesus Christ.
Wow, Jiminy. Remember that song? That must be from the Pinocchio movie. Jiminy. Is it? Anyway, he was the Jiminy Cricket's
was
the little
Disney.
cricket.
He was
Pinocchio.
So was he?
He's the
He was
cricket.
in the Disney version of Pinocchio.
Yeah,
So
but
Pinocchio became. Did he?
he appeared in the Italian version,
Who did?
Jiminy Cricket's.
But hang on. So he was Jiminy Cricket, not an original from
No.
Disney. So it wasn't an Italian.
I read Pinocchio. I read it. It's bizarre. I read it the other day because I think because it is one of the most popular books ever, Pinocchio.
So that's interesting. So that story was not a Disney original. It was an
No.
Italian fable, if you
Yeah,
like.
yeah.
And Jiminy Cricket was an Italian cricket.
Well, there was a talking cricket in the original Pinocchio, but then I think Disney just ran with the idea and named him Jiminy Crickets
Jiminy Crickets.
because it was the cricket didn't have a name in the original story. It was just a talking cricket.
And in the Disney version, he was an English he dressed like an English
Yeah,
gentleman.
he did, didn't he? And he was the
Top hat.
narrator. Was he the
Yeah, and he
narrator?
could sing. Did he sing When You Wish Upon a Star?
I think he did. When you
Which
wish
is the-
upon a star.
When I was young, I was going back sometime when you heard that music, you had to go to bed.
Yes.
I associate that with having to go to bed.
Well, Jiminy Cricket's, and he was also Pinocchio's moral guidance, like that little on your shoulder, that little voice in your ear.
subconscious there, that
Yes.
was representing the.
Yes. And then he sort of took. I remember because Pinocchio was huge when I was a kid. Pinocchio was a big
Pinocchio
movie.
was a little puppet that wanted to be wanted to grow up, right?
Yes.
And he told lies and his nose grew.
His nose grew, and there were always dirty jokes about Pinocchio and his nose growing.
Right. So he would, in his travels, have a cricket with him.
Yeah, the cricket would turn up. I haven't seen Pinocchio for a long time. It'd actually be a good movie to show to my kids. But the actual fable story is quite bizarre. There's a fox and a cat that leads him astray. He gets led astray, Pinocchio. He's meant to go to school, and then this fox and this cat, I think, convince him to go into a puppet show. He becomes a big star. That's right. He becomes a big star in the puppet show.
Is he a marionette?
Yeah, no, because he's got no strings, and so that's why he becomes a big star, because he's a puppet who can do puppet stuff without strings.
Bit of a long bow,
I
isn't it?
know.
How are you walking around without your strings? You're a puppet.
I'm a real
Can't have
live
it both ways.
boy. I just remember when I went on tour with David Strassman, he used to do a bit of Pinocchio in his act.
Right.
Because, you know, the thing about Pinocchio, there's a magic fairy. And the magic, that's how he became, because he was a lump of wood. A Geppetto,
Oh, right.
carved him, and then he became, and the fairy made him made him a talking puppet. And then the fairy goes, you know, Pinocchio has this speech. He must have this speech because Strassman used to do it with Chucky. Remember Chucky Wood?
Yeah, Chucky
Strassman's
Wood,
puppet?
yeah.
And he used to go, you know, I met a magic fairy, Dave. I met a magic fairy. And Strassman was like, what happened? I met a magic fairy. And he said, if you do the things that I say you do, you will be a real live boy. Because this is the thing, Pinocchio wants to be a real live boy.
Yep.
He goes, you will be a real live boy. And Strassman goes, where'd you meet this magic fairy? And the puppet goes, well, I was in this toilet block in St Kilda. And so when we tour, he'd always go to me, where's the red light district? You know, and so I'd say in Sydney, King's, you have to say King's Cross.
Yeah.
I was in a toilet in King's Cross. And then Adelaide, I'm just like, I don't know Adelaide that well. I remember you asking me, where do I say, you know, I just said Hindley Street or...
Yeah. And it worked?
Yeah,
Sort of.
sometimes they didn't work at all. Like when we were in Ballarat, he said, where should I say? And I said, I say Dalesford maybe, because that's
that's
a
good.
big area, and it got nothing. I remember Strassman going afterwards, yeah, Dalesford joke got nothing.
It's funny, you know, because if you get it right, that can be
absolutely.
the biggest laugh of the night.
Yeah.
The room absolutely cracks. Now, when you were backstage with him, were the puppets lying around?
Yes,
And was it a little bit weird?
yes. And then once he made the puppet work when he wasn't there. So once I walked in and sat down, and Chucky's sitting on his suitcase, and he suddenly, and then he went,
Goes, hey, Dave.
hey Dave, and we talked, oh, fuck.
Yeah,
The
that
Strassman
is-
thought it was the funniest thing ever.
That's because I know I was at the Logies one year in showbiz. Here we go, and Big Bird was on.
Oh, Big
And
Bird.
I had to go to rehearsal for some reason.
Oh.
Anyway, so they weren't using Big Bird, and I walked out the back, and Big Bird was thrown underneath the stairs, and it was lying there like a bit of roadkill.
Really?
Yeah, I'm going, Big Bird's dead.
Big Bird's like meant to be a 4 or 5 year old, isn't he? Meant to
is
be
he?
like a child's brain, yeah. Oh, have you remember the guy does Elmo?
I haven't met him, but
Big black guy. huge black guy, and he's got this puppet, and he's got that really great voice, a very deep voice.
Yeah.
So he's off there, he's like this. Yeah, I said to Jim Henson, I'm not fucking doing that anyway. And we're on. Hey everyone, it's Elmo!
I was on Hey Saturday with Lisa Simpson.
Oh.
Yeah, and I did something you shouldn't do. I was standing.
So that's the woman who does Lisa Simpson?
Yes. Yeah, and what's her name? No, she Bart. She does Bart.
Oh, she does Bart?
Yeah, she does Bart. And can you do Bart's voice?
No. How about... Nah.
Yeah, I can't do his voice. Anyway, I'm standing there and I said, if I close my eyes, can you talk to me as Bart? Which I shouldn't have done. And
is this on the screen or off?
This is before we're about to go on.
Right.
It's a bit creepy, wasn't it? I had to close my eyes and she went, "Hey, Clan, how's
that's
your TV
exciting.
show with you?" And then I was on the panel with what's his name?
Puppet Man?
The man that does Mr. Burns.
Yeah. He was always on the panel.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was in Spinal Tap.
Yeah, and I got him to do my answering machine for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, he did Principal Skinner.
Yeah.
I did my Principal Skinner to him on radio once.
Oh, really?
Looked very unimpressed. And someone goes, "Do you get people doing their bad Principal Skinners?" And he's like, "Yes."
Can you do a Principal Skinner now?
Principal, I can't do it anymore. I ring up.
Oh, come on.
Principal Skinner. No, I
Skinner.
yeah, he was sort of like that, wasn't he? No, I can't remember. Yeah, what was that guy?
Hey, everybody. I'm Dr. Nick. Oh, this is terrible. We shouldn't be doing this.
What was his name? Hang on, Sam.
Harry Shearer.
Harry Shearer.
Harry Shearer.
I'm going to need you, Sam. Relax.
Yeah.
Harry Shearer, and he always was pushing his wife's jazz CDs.
Don't say that. They might be listening. Hello,
Well,
Harry.
yeah, you know, I don't know him.
I do
right?
know him.
You know him.
Quite well, and he comes out to Australia pretty regularly. He does a lot of work with the working dog guys. Lovely guy. Anyway, so have you been to Disneyland?
No. Have you been there?
Yes.
Oh, see that you've been somewhere.
The best part about going to Disneyland is because I don't think he would though. Your kids are
Oh,
more,
they'd still like it.
would they?
I've got a 10-year-old.
I
He'd like it.
don't think I went there as a kid. I think I went there as an adult to go on Space Mountain.
Oh wow, yeah.
But the thing about it's in Anaheim,
Yeah.
which is
Out of suburbs,
which is
isn't
the
it?
burbs.
Yeah.
And it's the burbs. It's like you're in an episode of Cops.
Oh really? It's right out there.
Boys, what you gonna
boys,
do?
boys, bad, what
And then you look at it and you can see the Magic Castle, and you go down the Magic Road, and then you get on there all the animatronics.
And was it good?
It was all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a small world. After
you can't get
all.
that off your head.
Yeah.
It's a small world.
Was Jiminy Cricket's walking around? Because he's one of their
No,
characters.
it was more your Mickey Mouse, your Goofy.
Well, Disney have bought Star Wars now. They own Star Wars, and they own the Muppets.
Would they be? Disney would probably shut us down if we say too much.
No. They are very powerful.
They are very powerful.
They're very powerful. And they're opening up Star Wars World soon. I've seen photos of it. People have been sending their drones over taking photos. It looks amazing.
I went to the Epcot Center in Florida.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
They're good.
We got Disney World. I think you got Disney World, and then you've got the Epcot Center, which is like Future World.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I don't know whether it's still there or not. But Florida's kind of not much going on in Florida.
No.
I mean, it's in the south, and nice climate and everything, but not much going on. And but Future World is great. You get all the different things.
I'd love to go there. There's Harry Potter World there now too.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not a big Potter fan. I'm not a big Potter fan myself, but I'd say
You're more Pot than Potter.
Yeah, exactly. So what else do we know about
Jiminy Crickets? I don't know.
There's a name you don't hear.
What?
People call Jiminy.
Nah, Jiminy. Is that an actual name? Jiminy.
You're thinking Chimney.
I'm thinking. I keep saying Chimney, don't I? From bloody. It's Mary Poppins.
Yeah.
Jiminy Crickets. He also, but I remember he was the classic side character who went on to have his own life. So he spun off, and he used to host Disneyland show.
Really?
Yeah. He did. He was like Pinocchio, whatever. Jiminy Crickets. He had a bit of a career afterwards. He was always on Disneyland on that show we used to watch.
It's funny because the character is quite small. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like it's a little animal,
But you see that on shows occasionally when they'll pick a side character and then they have their own, like Mork and Mindy, for example.
Oh, it's spin-off, classic spin-off.
Yeah, you just spin-off.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've covered off the little talking cricket.
Yeah, we're going to venture into something that...
Jesus Christ.
We've talked religion before, but Jesus
We haven't
Christ.
talked about Jesus. I always think of Bob Franklin's joke. Remember Bob Franklin's joke?
Can we do that? Will you
Yeah, he won't mind. He won't mind. We'll ring him. Bob, is that okay? Yeah. when when it's last drinks at a pub,
Yeah.
and they're quite aggressive. The bouncers, come on, put your drinks down. Last drinks, get out. He goes, this is what they should do. Guys, feel free to finish your drink because me and the other bouncers are going to stand around to where Jesus for a little bit. And he goes, don't even finish your drink. You put it down.
People are running out the door.
That's Bob Franklin. So Jesus.
So
did you ever have those friendly guys come and talk to you in the street or at uni? And you go, this guy's really friendly, and then it's always Jesus.
Well, they come to the front door. I've never been...
I remember
there used to be a
at uni.
guy that used to push a pram around with Jesus saves.
Yes.
Yeah, and like if you I used to go look down upon it, but then go, if it makes him happy,
Imagine if Jesus came to earth and saw that guy.
You go,
mate,
oh
God,
it's all right. You can. It's all right.
Well, what have I done?
Yeah.
All these people using my name. Oh.
So what is his name? Jesus.
Jesus Christ. Is that his name?
If you looked him up in the phone book, would he be under Christ?
Well, did Jesus have another name?
Did Jesus have a surname?
Sam. We've got to ask
Because
Sam.
I think it's Jesus, son of God.
So is it Jesus God?
Jesus God. What was Mary's surname?
Oh, you know what? That is a really good question. Sam, did Jesus have a name?
A surname.
When Jesus was around, surnames didn't exist. People would typically refer to someone's parentage, so Jesus would have been Jesus, son of Joseph, or Jesus, son of Mary.
That's really good. So you would be Dave, son of Keith?
Kevin.
Kevin? I'd be Glenn, son of Arthur. Hey, is that
Glenn?
Are you Glenn, son of Arthur?
No, I'm Glenn, son of John. Oh, sorry, I mixed up.
You look like Glenn, son of John.
So Jesus, the son of Joseph, yeah.
Joseph.
It's Jesus, son of Joseph.
It's not. I mean, you can see why they come up with surnames because the whole son thing that's a bit annoying.
It's a bit annoying, yeah. Well, aren't surnames all related to what you used to do for a job? I think they were. So like Smith or Woodsmith, blacksmiths, and so if you're a wood, you work with wood. But I don't know what a Robbins or an O'Neill did. No idea. Robbins, robbing, criminal.
Yeah, O'Neill would
kneeling
down.
Kneeling down. What profession is that?
I don't know, but I reckon you'd be good at it.
Yeah, but if you're enjoying that.
Hey, here's something I do know.
Yeah.
Bethlehem. Know what it means?
No.
I think it means house of bread, like
Oh wow. Okay.
Brumbies.
Yeah.
So
Brumbies.
So, if you want to open a bakery,
Yeah.
and he's a Christian, do you like a bakery? Can we be slightly racist here?
Yeah.
Who would you go for a bakery run by?
Oh, Asian family.
Or Australian?
Oh. You know what? If I'm going to get a roll with pork or chicken schnitzel and salad, I'd go to Asian bakery.
I love an Asian
And also
bakery.
they make a very good cake because it's from the French tradition, isn't it? Allegedly.
Yeah, I love an Asian bakery. There's one in a shopping centre I go to. It's called High Top, I think. Do the best donuts.
Yeah, that's a chain, High Top.
Is it?
I don't think that's an exclusive for your little shopping centre. I've seen High Tops around.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
You're not going to do the Michaela when he said to me, "Oh, I went to High Point Shopping Centre and saw my pizza trattoria that we go to regularly have opened another one at High Point Shopping Centre." I said, "Well, what's it called?" La Porchetta. I go, La Porchetta's a chain. There's about 1 million of them in Victoria.
Sean's side of the street there. I didn't know that.
You didn't know La Porchetta was there?
Well, I just thought that
You thought High Top was your own little bakery?
Well, I thought there might be one. What you're saying? There's a ton of them.
I think there's quite a few High Tops.
So you're talking?
Hang on, Sam.
Let's not get into a High Top argument here. But you're saying they're all around the country?
Well, I don't know, but
there might be like 2 or 3.
Oh, there's one in the city I've seen. Okay, Sam, how many High Tops are there?
It's Bread Top.
There are over 70 bread top shops around Australia. They were founded in 2002. The first bread top shop was opened in Box Hill, Melbourne.
You know something else about Jesus?
Jesus was a black man?
He was a carpenter.
I know, he was a carpenter. See, again, I don't know who did the stand-up, but he said even Jesus had a trade to fall back on. It's a great joke. You know, your father will be like my father. Get a trade. You should get a trade, boys.
Yeah.
Something to fall back on. Get a trade.
When I said I wanted to go to acting school, my dad just flipped his lid.
Oh, that's
and
right.
I ran off.
What?
Yeah, and I got.
You had to run down behind the house and cry.
Yeah. I want to be a big actor.
I want to be a real live actor.
And my nose went.
Dad's like, what are you bloody doing that for? Waste of time. They couldn't, but our dad's dad's generation, the artistic world was just something that was not.
Yeah, that's right. It was not. You did not. But nowadays.
Nowadays, it'd be fine. You know, if your son's even at a top private school and has a university degree and says, "Father, I want to be an actor," you go, "Oh yeah, cool."
Just getting back to the carpentry.
Yeah.
So there was a time before you hit the big time where you go, "Hey, Dale, what? Bloody back door's not working again."
Get Jesus over.
Yeah, Jesus.
Son of Joseph.
Is that Jesus, son of Joseph? Yeah. Get him over. And Jesus would come over and get out his plane, his nails, and he'd give it a crack. And then you wouldn't want to complain, would you?
No.
You wouldn't want to be going, "Hey, Jesus, not great work." You know what he'd do? He'd probably go, he'd just step out of the room for a minute and he'd probably do something, like magical.
Oh yeah, he'd fix it himself. And, he'd be always asking you. And then you'd say, give him some water, and he seemed to be getting pissed on the job. Like, what's happening? Why is Jesus getting pissed?
I just gave him some water. Yeah, but I don't know.
He's turning into wine.
Yeah. And this is horrible, but he would have known about the carpentry for the crucifix.
For the cross, yeah.
Plenty
of people have done the joke about him on the cross with the nails going, shonky job.
Oh, really? Have they?
Yeah, with the nails in him looking at the nails in his irons going, bloody dodgy job.
You guys see the Louis C.K. episode where he did the whole Jesus thing with the kid at the church, and it was horrific to watch.
Oh, no.
Man gives the speech about what Jesus went through. It's actually quite powerful. I think it was biographical for Louis C.K. But anyway, by the by. And Jesus, I'm just trying to think, because I went and saw Jordan Peterson speak. He's the author of that popular book, 12 Rules for Life. And that's interesting because he quotes Jesus a lot.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How is he quoting Jesus? How do people...
He's a clinical psychologist. That's pulling a bit of that gear in.
Yeah, but Jesus, I mean, who actually recorded Jesus saying these things?
Oh, so he could have had a Jiminy Cricket following around going, "Hey, Jesus, I'm chopping that one down."
Jesus. You know, the thing is, when Jesus got crucified, he went to the Vatican, right, last year.
What, you were there for the Christmas? Hey, did you get tickets for that? You can buy tickets online.
Buy tickets for that.
Yeah.
Up front, and the woman, we had this tour of the Vatican. I didn't want to go to the Vatican, right?
Yeah.
I said to my wife, "I've been to the Vatican twice. I'm not Catholic. I don't want to go to the Vatican."
Yeah.
She booked this tour, right, and then she was sick, and so I had to take the kids. I was going anyway.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we had this crazy guide who was good, but she kept saying, crucifixion was like an everyday thing back in those days. A lot of people got crucified. I said, so it was like getting a parking fine. She went, exactly. But when Jesus was crucified, there were two other guys next to him, and no one ever remembers their names. And I remember David Strassman saying, I said to him, being your support act, it's like, and he goes, yeah, it's like you're like the guys crucified next to Jesus. No one remembers your name. Yeah, because there were two other blokes next to him.
It would have been son of someone.
Oh, they had names?
Yeah.
Hang on, should we ask Sam?
Oh.
Who are the two guys next to Jesus?
Do you reckon it's recorded? I thought you said...
they had names, yeah.
They had names?
Because I've made this joke before, and you always get a Bible person coming up to you afterwards and going, "Oh, that's Philip and Stuart or whatever."
Terry.
Yeah, Terry.
And Garth.
Do you want to have a guess at their names? Who was crucified? Sam, who was crucified next to Jesus?
The other two on crosses were both thieves. Does Mass and Get Shash business ask Jesus for salvation, while Get Shash is mocking Jesus about not saving himself?
Mock Jesus!
And you're up there on your own crucifix and you get time to throw a few jibes.
Hey, Jesus! Oh, have you heard that great joke? I love this joke.
Yeah, I know.
You know the joke? The one where Jesus is on the cross and he goes, Joseph. He calls out to one of his disciples. Yeah. Joseph. And Jesus is not on the cross at this point. Joseph tries to run up the hill and all the Roman guards push him down. Then he goes, and then he hears again, Joseph. And he gets all his strength together. He runs up the hill. He pushes the guards up the lane. He climbs up to Jesus. He goes, what is it, Jesus? And Jesus goes, I can see my house from up here.
That is a classic, isn't it?
That is a classic
That
joke.
one should be put into a time capsule and kept
I can see
forever.
my house from up
I
here.
can see my house from up here.
Whereas I can see your house from up here. You can see Joseph's house from up here.
Yeah, whatever it is, it's so they would have. What if they met? What were their names? Mark was it? Doesn't matter. But wonder if they introduced before they went up there.
They would have been in a holding cell, wouldn't they, together? Isn't that how it works? When you're about to be crucified, or were they separate? I wonder if you got a last meal, Jesus. I think it was a bit more rushed than that back in those days.
Not thinking you'd get a last meal. And it happened. Where did it happen? In the hills of Bethlehem.
Yeah, around there.
And then he went for a while, then came back for Easter, which was
nice.
Good timing.
Went away for a few days, came back.
And
But if you're a believer of the Mormon faith, in their book, Jesus didn't go to heaven. He went over to America and talked to the Native Americans and gave them the whole Mormon thing, and then went back to Bethlehem. And, yeah, that's what the Mormons believe.
when did he write the musical?
Yeah. I don't know.
Jesus Christ Superstar.
Have you seen it? Jesus Christ. Superstar.
See, and it's done. There would be an outcry for that. But what if there was an outcry about it being inappropriate?
Yeah, I wonder about that, because now when you
using the Lord's name in vain.
when they had like Temptation of Christ and stuff, that all these Christians are protesting, weren't there? At the front of the cinemas. I wonder if they'll protest about this podcast.
Well, fair enough if they do, because we are we being? I think we're just telling it like it's. Here's what I reckon. I reckon Jesus was there, did a good job. He was a carpenter, did a good job. Felt like he could help people. Wandered around,
hang on, prostitutes and drug dealers.
Yep. And he's spreading good word.
Bit of a Father Bob of his time. Like Father Bob.
Yeah.
One of those guys.
We all need those in our communities.
Dedicates his life. Doesn't have a family. Dedicates his life to helping the underprivileged.
Did he know that he was the son of? Did that to sort of come to him? Was he like? Did he sit under a tree like Buddha did and go, "Oh, I've got it worked out," or was he told from? What happened to Mary? Did Mary hang around?
Mary was around.
Was Mary sort of going? Because people these days are very quick to say that their kids are, geniuses.
Geniuses, yeah.
Do you reckon she was a little quick, maybe?
Yeah.
Well, Mary got to give all the other girls. They're going, "Oh, my son's brilliant. Oh, my son's
he's a genius."
And Mary's going, "Son.
My son can walk on water.
So, you know that wine you're drinking now, girls? My son made that."
Yeah. Mary's talking a kid up again. All right, so we have some thinking music.
What are you thinking about thinking music?
Oh, well, we can have a bit of Pinocchio. Why don't we have the speech from Pinocchio? He could be a real life boy.
Oh yeah, we want to hear that.
I want to hear that. I haven't heard that for like 40 years.
Yeah, I'd like to hear that.
I've only ever heard David Strassman's take on it.
Because the puppets spook me, because I reckon I had a bad thing happen as a child. So whenever I see Marionette, I have to leave the room.
Do you think a puppet did something
Like
to
Mr.
you?
Punch and Judy, it's almost like I get psychotic.
Scary.
Yeah.
But what about Sooty and Sweep? Do you like this?
No, I don't like any hand
Sooty and
puppets.
Sweep are great.
Yeah. No.
So funny.
But I don't
Mr.
mind.
Squiggle?
Mr. Squiggle's a bit. I don't mind when there's a hand up the back.
Like a ventriloquist.
Yes, but I don't like any strings involved.
Strings are
Punch
creepy.
and Judy was a hand up the back, wasn't it?
Yeah.
To whack each other, didn't like that.
Yeah, no, Punch and Judy were quite violent.
But I didn't like, and like the Thunderbirds, they were marionettes, and
Creepy.
Creepy.
What about the Muppets?
Well, they're hands up back, aren't they?
Yep.
That's okay.
Yeah, they're very good.
Yeah. Well, they're very good.
They're very funny.
How many years have they been around?
Oh,
I reckon they started mid-70s.
Yeah, I reckon, yeah.
Good for you, the Muppets.
I used to love the Muppet. Good what?
The Muppets.
Yeah.
But that's a term these days that I quite like, when people go, "Oh, what are you doing, you Muppet?"
Yeah, it's like a clown, you Muppet. Oh, I think you Muppet.
Okay, so we're going to hear
The
speech.
speech.
The speech that Jimmy Cricket makes.
I think it's Pinocchio.
No, sorry.
Pinocchio.
Because I wouldn't mind hearing a bit of Jimmy Cricket. Well, I don't think we could play it When You Wish Upon a Star.
No. That'd be owned by someone.
Because that's when all the fireworks go over the thing. Yeah, the back of the closing credits. So
Yes.
Anyway, so let's hear.
Who is Pinocchio?
I've given you life
Why?
because tonight Geppetto wished for a real boy.
Am I a real boy?
No, Pinocchio. To make Geppetto's wish come true will be entirely up to you.
Up to me?
Prove yourself brave, truthful, and unselfish, and someday you will be a real boy.
A real boy!
Wow. Oh, you're a real life boy.
Oh.
Remember Disneyland, Sunday night at 7:30? You'd have your bath, you'd stand in front of the heater,
Yeah.
get dried off by mum, and then you'd sit down and you have your eggs or baked beans and you watch a bit of
Hey,
Disney.
speaking of that, I heard little thing happened while we were in Byron Bay, and it's come back to me that you told a story about me doing something.
Being nude.
I thought what happened on.
I told that on the radio.
What happened was.
I'm desperate for material.
What happened was. We were doing a gig in.
Yeah, we talked about it last week in Byron Bay.
Yeah. Did we talk about this? What we did? How we went to the door?
No, I don't think so.
I think. Well, Pete arrived and you went down and you.
Peter Rose thought, I was having a nap in my undie and singlet.
And I being.
There was a knock.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'll go and get that.
And
I opened the door.
and you're standing there in your underpants, and I thought, because I'm competitive, I thought, well, I'll do it, I'll go one better. And then you stepped away, and then I stepped in with no underwear, just a t-shirt and no pants.
Yeah. He said, come in, Pete, we're having a great time.
Juvenile, I know, but funny.
Pete was laughing.
Pete was laughing, and anyway, I'm glad that you...
I share that experience with the whole world.
On Mick Malloy's radio show.
And Nova. I think I've done it twice.
So, and did you describe me as, how did you describe me?
I didn't actually see you. I didn't see you.
My sleight of hand with my penis is pretty good. I can get back up the stairs and get those undies back on.
I didn't see you.
Yeah. All right, so we need to... What is the somehow related thing between Jiminy Cricket
Jimmy Crickets.
and...
Jesus Christ.
Jesus.
Well, do you want to have a go? You have a crack. Go on.
I think that Jiminy Cricket came before
Jesus.
Disneyland.
Oh, my God.
Jesus, Jiminy Cricket came, but we're saying it was in Disneyland, but it was also in an Italian fable.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that he was in a proverb before all of that, and each of those are derivatives. So I think if you go through, there'll be something about, because Jesus talked about insects and animals and sort of there'll be something about and ye old
A talking cricket.
Talking cricket will speak to you and tell. In other words, your conscience is like a insect.
Yeah.
It's not good, I know, but it's a pretty hard one to link up. What do you think?
I think the character of Jimmy Crickets is based on Jesus. That's what I'm thinking. Just because he's sort of the moral compass in that story, and Pinocchio is a little naughty boy, or he's a puppet.
Yep.
You know, he gets seduced by fame and stuff.
So if Jiminy Cricket was Jesus, who was Pinocchio?
Oh wow, he'd be like one of the disciples, wouldn't he?
Yeah. And he had a big wooden nose, and you know what? Jesus probably made his nose.
This is
carpenter.
Jesus made Pinocchio.
This is brilliant. This is like
He's a
CSI.
real life boy.
Oh.
Okay, so what is it? Shall we get the answer?
The character's name is a play on the exclamation Jiminy Cricket, a minced oath for Jesus Christ, which itself was uttered in Pinocchio's immediate Disney predecessor, 1937's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs by the Seven Dwarfs themselves. A minced oath is a euphemistic expression formed by misspelling, mispronouncing, or replacing a part of a profane, blasphemous, or taboo term to reduce the original term's objectionable characteristics. Some examples include gosh for God, crumbs, or crikey for Christ, or coot for the C word.
Wow. So, in other words,
I love that term.
So, hang on. So that people didn't want to say
Jesus Christ in movies and books, I think.
So they go,
oh, Jiminy Crickets. Well, are there any other examples, Sam?
Sugar is another one you might use.
Sugar. And like in movies like Dorothy and Wizard of Oz says Jiminy Crickets.
So that's why, Jiminy Crickets.
Jiminy Crickets.
Meaning she's got a fright, and she said, Jesus Christ, she didn't want to.
You have been listening to Somehow Related with Glenn Robbins and Dave O'Neill. Links to the answer in the show notes, and thanks to Wikipedia for some help this episode.
I love it, and I love the one coot is
for the C word.
The C word. Hey, you know, you stupid old coot.
So coot is your stupid old.
Coot, yes. Yeah,
let's not say it because
let's not say it.
It's in the no.
Gosh, you know, I love minced oaths. I've never heard of it before, but I love.
I've never heard the term
minced oath.
Oath.
Yeah.
Meaning you've swizzled it up.
Yes.
So you blur it, but we all know what it means.
Shut the front door.
That's
shut the fuck up.
Yes.
Shut the front door.
Right.
What the heck?
Yeah.
Shoot's a good one.
Because I was in traffic the other day and someone said, "Get out of the way, you cockhead." I'm not sure it was minced. That's not minced, is it?
That's sort of, you kook head. Yeah.
Sugar, shit, freak.
There's quite a few of them.
Take it.
Crikey for Christ. Fudge, freak. Yeah.
See, what's interesting is that I find the F word, when I see it on I find it quite offensive.
Oh, when you hear it?
Even on TV. I mean, because back in my day, the first crossover was in the 70s when someone said shit.
Shit, yeah.
Shit. That was who said it? It was on the Lokies.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was Conrad or someone. I just remember.
Oh, right.
Anyway, and then so that was like the crossover, and then it didn't really come. It took a long time, but it's nearly crossed over now. What time of night can you say? Because I'm hearing it quite early now.
I think it was after 8:30. But remember when you'd go on Hey at Saturday, you couldn't say shit.
No.
There's no. And when I did comedy galas for the comedy festival, you couldn't say fuck in the 90s or the early 2000s.
I think
now everyone says it on the comedy
in the US,
gala.
I don't think you can say ass, or you couldn't say toilet in the US.
Well, American comics always come out here and say, "Can you say shit on the radio here?"
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yep. Yeah, we're a potty mouth nation here, aren't we?
Jiminy Crickets.
But I just think so, and we've actually you hear some comedians now and they drop the C-bomb and you go, they're rebellious. Why? Hey, watch me. Hey, watch this. You go,
I don't like it.
You're dying out. Unless it's right on topic.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you're throwing it there for effect, and you go, mate, and I'll admit myself, I used to swear too much purely out of insecurity, trying to pump up the punch.
Yeah.
But I reckon fuck used once is good. But used repeatedly, it just loses all its
loses its power.
And the C word, if it's the end of a really good joke, then it's
well, then there's a great joke about the Pope. The Pope he has to go to this quite remote monastery and so the monk gets up and he goes, you got to go catch the fish for the Pope today, right? And so he goes out. Have you heard this joke? He goes so the monk goes out and he catches a fish and he goes to the fish and what's this fish called? And the fish goes, it's called a fucker. He goes, excuse me? He goes, it's called a fucker. That's a fucker. He goes, this fish is called a fucker? Yeah, it's a fucker. He goes, all right. So he goes back to the other monk and he says, well, I caught the fucker. You've got to clean the fucker. And he goes, well, what's it called? He goes, it's a fucker. No, clean the fucker. He goes, oh, I'll clean it. And then so the second monk cleans the fucker, and then he goes to the third monk. Well, I've cleaned the fucker. He caught the fucker. You cooked the fucker. He goes, what's it called? He goes, a fucker. No, cook it. So he cooks the fucker, and so they serve it to the Pope. And the Pope sitting there and he goes, this fish is beautiful. I love it. And the one monk goes, I caught the fucker. And the other one goes, hey, I cleaned the fucker. The one goes, guys, I cooked the fucker. The Pope sits back and he lights a big joint. He goes, you cunts, you're all right.
See, you should have told that when you're at the Vatican on the tour. You go, grabbed him on the phone and go, listen up everybody, you go to the Vatican.
See, that's used to the C-bomb, but it's quite funny.
Very good.
Welcome to the Fully Charged Show podcast. Well, Fully Charged Live has come and gone, but we promised our amazing, wonderful podcast listeners and Fully Charged viewers that all the talks will become available for all of you to listen to you on your favourite podcast player and also on our second YouTube channel, Fully Charged Regen. So we kick off this series with our keynote that happened on Friday morning with an amazing man who works for Rivian. So please welcome onto the stage Ben Anstey.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you. So if we sit there and there.
Excellent. Wow. I felt a bit like doing an Apple keynote then. So they say, please welcome Ben Anstey. Ben, hi! But we should all walk faster with really weird trainers, which is what they do. So, Ben, just briefly, your personal history in this field of the automotive field is quite, I mean, I'm impressed of what you did, but what were you doing before Rivian?
I spent just under 8 years at McLaren Automotive, where I was, by the time I left, head of vehicle electronics, so I was responsible for all the electrical systems on all the McLaren vehicles. I was privileged to join before the launch of their very first car, which meant in a very compressed time we did nearly 15 launches, and we continued in the background to develop multiple cars. So that kind of really got me to understand a lot about challenges of launching a vehicle and what it takes to really put a good product into market, because it's not easy. It really isn't an easy thing to do as a company.
I think, well, we've seen that with multiple sort of launches of new electric vehicle companies. I mean, Lucid and Faraday Future. I just want to quickly mention there are some Faraday Past T-shirts on sale. Okay, they're really exclusive, just so you know. So that was a great thing. So then, but here's the thing I really want to know. When we first came across Rivian, it wasn't like you'd started working on the vehicle like 6 months ago and you displayed it. It had been a long time in development.
Yeah, so that's testament to our founder, RJ. I mean, the company now is 10 years old, and the 9 years that led up to LA launch, it was all in stealth.
I mean, because we didn't hear a peep, and that I do get all these sort of things coming through all the time.
Very specific strategy. I mean, there are a number of companies that will launch an image that talk about a product that may or may not come in the near future. And the moment you do that, you start an amount of generation of media interest that then you have to keep up with. Whereas RJ was very clear we wanted to have the production vehicles available, so what we launched on day one was a brand, and day two was 2 vehicles.
Right.
And immediately you're talking to customers and understanding if you've got the right product, rather than kind of trying to build that as you go.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it was also, because I've always been sort of slightly moaning about the fact that we're getting a lot of launches of very large SUVs, high-end, expensive vehicles, which is, I completely understand the reasoning behind that, but what we're desperate, and what most people are desperate for, is a more affordable, sensible, smaller vehicle. But the American market is very different. Having once driven a Prius in Los Angeles, and the wheels of the SUVs and pickup trucks I was near were higher than the roof, and I was just like terrified.
For me, coming from low-slung sports cars, it was staggering.
Yeah, the size of vehicles. Because I mean, I always think the Tesla Model S is a kind of too big for the UK. Honestly, that is a compact hatchback in California.
But I think to talk about large vehicles, I mean, everything needs to move towards electric. And I think the customer needs a lot of opportunity to pick the car for them. If you try and force the wrong product, you've got another blocking point to the market.
Yeah.
So I agree with you around the size, and the platform enables us to develop technology which can translate to a smaller vehicle if we so chose. But at the moment, that's the vehicle that is in demand. So if you want to really move the needle on kind of electric sales, you've got to offer vehicles that the customer wants.
Yeah.
So that's where we started.
So just give us for the 3 people in the room who haven't seen who haven't heard of video of Rivian, is the sort of basic stats of it. So because it's bonkers. I mean, it's incredible.
So, I mean, we're very much specifically going after the kind of lifestyle adventure market. So whether you're into a lot of off-roading or overlanding, the vehicle has to be capable. So if you think about what a Range Rover Sport offers, it's that level of premium quality with a lot of off-road capability. So we've got 1 meter weight depth, we've got great entry and exit departure, large clearance for off-road, and a really capable vehicle. And the video is described about torque vectoring and how you get the limits of grip. So there are a lot of things you can do with electric that you can't easily do with a combustion engine.
Yeah.
And then you've got the other side of it, which is not everyone does that. People just want to use vehicles to go what they want to do over weekends, whether it be surfing, kayaking, or just go trekking. So you still need a vehicle that allows you to take you and your family to the adventure that you want to go on.
Yeah.
And the vehicle is just that. It's the vehicle to get you there, and when you get there, you do something else.
Yeah.
So from the performance on road, electric gives you natural benefits. 0 to 60, just over 3 seconds, and range because of the size with 400 miles plus. Given the larger battery pack, so it can be staggering performance whilst also not compromising on the vehicle design or the vehicle experience.
And so that the interesting story that happened really after we first met Rivian at the car show was what the impact it had there was phenomenal, but not so much on. I mean, it was the impact on the public, I'm sure, was really reassuring for you, but the impact from the industry. So you got approached fairly rapidly by Ford.
Yeah, I mean, we've recently announced, obviously, Amazon invested in us, February and Ford last month. So there's a huge amount of interest from players that are naturally moving towards this space, and they see Rivian as a kind of a company that offers technology, but obviously supports what we're trying to do. So it's not a threat, it's an opportunity. And so we see that as a good validation of what we're doing. And you can imagine the kind of discussions in the background that verified the technical product. For us, that was really important, because it means that we have done a job that is seen by others to be incredible. We've got to launch it now, and that's the challenge.
Yeah. So I mean, the next steps then are to finalise and build a manufacturing plant. But you've already got a factory building. In a sense, is there a sort of similarity to Tesla taking over the factory they took it over in California? Is that is it fair to compare that?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest challenge of launching the car once the design's done is getting the supply chain and getting the marketing, hitting the volume, because then you've got to hit a demand. And without a factory, this is where a lot of the startups, they underestimate that, struggle to then deploy what is your great product. Like the Tesla analogy, obviously we purchased a plant, ex-Mitsubishi plant. It's a phenomenal asset for us, and that is now currently being readied for production next year. And it's that will enable us to actually get the cars to market. Not just the media, the support, the design. It's a whole suite of things we have to achieve.
Because that, I mean, it must be, I can't even imagine how you start doing it. I mean, it's such a big project. You're really going from scratch, but the advantage you have is the lack of legacy. You don't have a petrol engine manufacturing plant that you've got. I mean, that was one of the, I'm sure some of you heard that news, very sad news about the Ford plant in Wales, which is closing down. I just got to mention this because I heard one of the trade union representatives of the workers there, because I think it's about 1,500 jobs going, and he said it's a shame that Ford didn't invest in manufacturing electric motors a few years ago. And you think that is incredible that thought has occurred. And you know that those workers are going, why? Well, we're making engines no one wants. Why aren't we making electric motors? Which I'm sure Ford will do at some point, but it's heartbreaking. The impact on the existing business model of car manufacturers is pretty intense.
Talk about legacy. I mean, you build a platform with the intention of, through change, to have a life of 10 plus years. You sweat that asset, that design, that capex, and unfortunately, you're at the midpoint now where most of these lines haven't finished nurturing or developing what they were intended, and so the problem is, how do you switch the technology? It makes sense when we talk about it, but actually it's a massive business decision. Huge. You're managing a complete complex supply chain.
I mean, in fact, I said to a Ford representative, a management guy, when I went to a Ford event in Amsterdam, and I said, it must be really hard when you've got 10,000 people making petrol and diesel engines, and he just said it's 15,000. So it's even bigger. It's actually bigger. I just said 10,000 out of the top of my head, assuming it was big. But then so the advantage then, I think the interesting thing, particularly for what you're doing, is the longer term picture. So because there's a lot of interest from Amazon, wasn't necessarily that Amazon wanted to buy 400 Rivian SUVs, but they're interested in the core technology for presumably other vehicles, for delivery systems.
So I mean, one of the key differentiators to traditional OEM is that they rely heavily on the supply base. And if you look at Tesla, you look at Rivian, and most of the startups, to be fair, they're seeded in the West Coast approach, and therefore you naturally hire and develop in-house skills. So we're developing in-house the enablers for the products of the future. We're not buying that asset in. So what that means is that whether it's a car you're selling today or whether it's a technology platform to another car company, actually what you've got is the knowledge to kind of transcend the ownership experience, and you move towards mobility as a service, so joint sharing ownership, or even vehicles that are used for a completely different purpose. That's the technology that underpins it.
So if you've got a Amazon delivery van that does 0 to 60 in 3 seconds, you're going to get your parcel just that much. Your Amazon Prime is going to to be like
in the centre of London, I think.
In the centre of London, it's really
a problem.
But then, I'm really excited to actually see the vehicle. So certainly a question that people will want to know here is how long after the end of 2020, when you finally, I'm assuming everything goes extremely smoothly, there's no hiccups, but you start manufacturing them in late 2020, how long before we get right-hand drive ones over here?
Yes, it's a great question. I mean, one of the things we have to not do is over-commit and then undersupply. And so we've got a very clear strategy of the markets, it's leading with North America. It's designed to be a global market, so there is the right-hand drive equivalent fully validated, and so that will mean that at the right time we will introduce it in the UK, but it will still be built in the US and it will be imported in. And so I would expect, it will be in the year that follows, or very short period after, because that's part of the rollout strategy, subject to growing that supply chain on time.
Yeah. And then the other one is, because we get asked this all the time, and I'm sure many of you here are aware of it, is about towing. You know, I get about 5 tweets a day going, once there's an electric vehicle that can tow my, ship, then call me. I'll remember that, and I will call you. No, but I mean, the Rivian is definitely a towing capable vehicle.
I mean, if you want to go up against the F-150, and there's many reasons why you buy an F-150. Some for kind of like you want to have it, some because it's utilitarian. You have to be able to tow, otherwise you're not credible. And we can tow just under 5 tons, so 11,000 pounds. But again, as it was said on the video, and it comes down to how much infrastructure do you want for the loads of maximum tow that you carry around all the time. The electric vehicle is preservation of energy, so you have to pick a limit. And quite frankly, 5 tons is a significant amount of towing capacity. Yeah. There will be an impact on range, but it depends what you're towing. Yeah. Because actually, once you're moving, rolling inertial energy is not the problem. It's going to be your drag that you add. If it's a caravan or if it's a small one. It can tow. I mean, there's nothing stopping it. Right.
And then, so have you done things like, because that's one of the things we've been hearing a lot about is buying battery capacity. I mean, it's making sure that you have access to, because that seems to be the big challenge at the moment for the big OEMs, is making sure they've got enough batteries. Hyundai being a really good example. I think it's an excuse why there aren't 10,000 Konas outside in the car park for people to test drive. It's such a shame, and we have one, and it is a brilliant car, but they're saying it's sourcing batteries.
So fortunately, I'm neither in purchasing nor batteries, so I get to not have to personally deal with that problem. Right. It's a significant problem for all of the industry, quite frankly. You're moving at such a rate where the quantity of cells in a car is significant. It's not one engine, it's thousands of cells. So it's a real difficulty, and you can learn from all of the manufacturers who've previously challenged themselves. So Tesla's approach to building house, and therefore cell supply is the bottleneck. So whilst I can't obviously give a very detailed answer on that, rest assured it's one of the key enablers to ensuring supply chain, which enables us to build, in addition to having a product that people want to buy. Right. It's probably the biggest risk or opportunity if you get it wrong.
And have you driven a Rivian?
Yeah.
And is it fun?
Yeah. but electric vehicles are always going to be fun. Yeah. There's a lot of performance benefits around an electric vehicle. So from that standpoint, you naturally get an exhilarated driving experience, but actually it's more than that. Yeah. It's designed to be a vehicle that you take places, and therefore you quickly get used to the electric or the one-pedal driving strategy. And it's you have to not change your driving style, but you get very quickly used to the fact that the brakes are there very much for emergency stops. And the wear and tear on those commodity parts is just completely different. It's not the same storage.
And what about because there's the other things that are sort of developing so rapidly, which you've got a kind of a good head start on. But things like vehicle to, because if you've got, I don't know what's the biggest battery capacity you can have in a Rivian? It's huge.
180 kilowatts.
180 kilowatts. So having at your home, in your beautiful home in Oregon, a vehicle to grid system, that is a lot of electricity. That will run your house for about a month.
Yeah, well, interesting. If you think about a main house with AC running in the States, it's about 5 kilowatts. You've got 3 days of usage there, parts of the drive in the event of outage. You're talking about a substantial amount of off-grid energy that is available to you, either as stored energy for driving or stored energy for other purposes. We recently showed the accessories like the kitchen that comes out.
Yes.
It's got a full inductive burner on the side, because we can use that big tunnel of space. We can add on the modular features, but you can actually cook off the back of the battery. Right. Because it's got that much power to last.
So it is built to have that kind of
absolutely
two-way capability. I
appreciate the point on large vehicles and the usability of them, but while the technology is where it is, if you want to really overcome range anxiety and you want to really produce a vehicle that doesn't have to work as hard in each cell, larger packs are very much solving a lot of those problems. Once you've got all that power, there's so much more you can do with it, because you're not worried about the 10 miles it drops off of your 60-mile range. You can actually deliver true electric features that would normally be available to you on a vehicle.
It must be such an exciting time for you as an automotive engineer to go from, I'm sure it wasn't dull and pedestrian working at McLaren. I've been around that fact. It is the most extraordinary place. So that was a pretty exciting thing to do anyway. But then the extra sides to this, it kind of in many ways goes beyond just the car. In traditional terms.
I've got my own personal reasons. So for me, I'm privileged to have worked at McLaren and been involved in what I did, but the skill set that I've got and the desire to move towards an electric future McLaren isn't the right vehicle for that for me.
Yeah.
You know, it has a very attribute-driven performance, whereas the Rivian is almost the same culture and the same kind of ability to have an influence of doing it in a way that's driving it very much towards the next generation of vehicles.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's like for like, and it's a great place to work.
We've got this really exciting thing now, ladies and gentlemen, because I want to open up questions, because I'm sure you've got questions for Ben, but what is really exciting this year, last year we were running around with microphones. That is a microphone, and I can throw it at you. So if you've got a question, all you have to do is you speak into that. Is it on at the moment? Oh, but it's feeding back because I'm here. But anyway, there you go. So it's like that. You talk like that and you can hear me. It's so cool. I couldn't believe we had this. So do you want to have it right at the back? Do you know how bad? Do you know how bad I am? How bad I am at throwing? This is a very frightening first test. Woo! Cannot believe I did that. Yeah, but hold it quite close. Okay. Yeah, that's good.
My name's Paul. Very interesting. Then my question is, you mentioned about battery storage and the access to rare earths to actually build these batteries, and I got bothered over that. So, do you have a concern about that?
And yes, in one sense. I think the key thing we've got to think about, in my opinion, is that we're moving away from combustion local to electric supply.